Imagine carving through fresh powder on a Ski-Doo, the crisp winter air in your face, the roar of the engine beneath you, the adrenaline rush, the freedom of the open trails. This wasn't just a machine, it was a gateway to adventure. For decades, Ski-Doo wasn't just a snowmobile. It was a way of life. It redefined winter exploration, turning frozen landscapes into playgrounds for thrill seekers, families, and outdoorsmen alike. And sure, sometimes that playground included an unexpected hidden stump that turned you into a professional stuntman for a few seconds. But what happens when a legend loses its way? Ski-Doo, once the undisputed king of snowmobiles, built an empire on innovation, reliability, and passion. Yet, over the years, something changed. Strategic missteps, questionable corporate decisions, and fierce competition from brands like Polaris and Arctic Cat began to erode its dominance. It's almost as if Ski-Doo took a wrong turn into deep powder, got itself hopelessly stuck, and is now just spinning its track while everyone else rides past. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Do you enjoy the video? Your support means the world to us. Help us grow and hit that subscribe button. Thanks to you. The once loyal community, riders who had trusted Ski-Doo for generations, started asking an uncomfortable question. Is Ski-Doo still the company that revolutionized winter riding? Or has it abandoned the very riders who made it great? Every empire has a beginning, and for Ski-Doo, it all started with one man's dream. In the 1930s, a young Canadian mechanic named Joseph Armand Bombardier had a vision: to create a vehicle that could glide effortlessly over snow. Living in the harsh winters of Quebec, he saw firsthand how travel became nearly impossible when roads vanished under deep snowfall. Families were stranded, emergency services were helpless, and entire communities were cut off for months. He knew there had to be a better way. For years, Bombardier worked tirelessly in his small garage, experimenting with designs, testing prototypes, and refusing to accept failure. His early attempts were crude, unreliable, and often frustrating, but he didn't give up. Finally, in 1937, after countless setbacks, Bombardier unveiled his first snow-going vehicle. It was bulky and slow, but it worked, and it was just the beginning. But it wasn't until 1959 that he truly changed the game. That year, he introduced the Ski-Doo.
Ski-Doo, as long as there's winter.
The first personal snowmobile designed for recreational use. Lightweight, fast, and exhilarating to ride.
Easy to move, our lightest. Easy to own, our lowest priced.
It quickly became a sensation. Joseph Armand Bombardier wanted to revolutionize winter travel. He also unknowingly revolutionized the concept of send it. Fast forward to today. Has Ski-Doo kept its legacy alive? There's only one way to find out. Grab the handlebars and see for yourself. By the 1960s, Ski-Doo wasn't just selling machines. It was creating a movement. The freedom, the adventure, the rush of carving through fresh powder, it was addictive. But success has a way of attracting competition. Could Ski-Doo stay ahead of the pack, or was its dominance destined to fade? By the 1970s and 80s, Ski-Doo wasn't just winning, it was dominating.
Chez nous, c'est Ski-Doo.
Snowmobiling had exploded into a full-blown phenomenon, and Ski-Doo was at the center of it all. Families, adventurers, and racers alike were hitting the trails, pushing their machines to the limit, and nearly everyone wanted a Ski-Doo. Snowmobile racing, once a niche sport, had turned into a major event, with Ski-Doo machines leading the charge. Race circuits were packed.
Into it, and it's going to be Renheim.
Snowmobile clubs were thriving, and new models kept pushing the boundaries of performance. Ski-Doo wasn't just selling machines, it was building memories, creating traditions, and bringing people together in a way no other brand could. Snowmobiles weren't just vehicles, they were a ticket to adventure, a way to connect with nature, and a reason to embrace the cold. And let's be honest, also the fastest way to find out which of your buddies can't handle a little throttle. But as every empire learns, dominance breeds competition.
So we started with the consumer, getting the insight, getting their needs.
Other brands were watching and learning. Soon, Ski-Doo would face challenges even its most powerful machines couldn't outrun. Ski-Doo wasn't just riding the wave of success, it was shaping the future of snowmobiling. In 2003, Ski-Doo launched something that rocked the industry, the Rev platform.
Today we're talking about the original 2003 Beavertail Ski-Doo Rev.
This wasn't just an upgrade.
The double A-arm setup is terrific in a really bumpy trail. It's just something unbelievable.
It was a complete reinvention of snowmobile design.
The Rev X platform. In 2003, we revolutionized the snowmobile.
Riders no longer sat back like they were on a couch.
The rev changed all that. We sat forward, we sat higher, we were more comfortable.
Now, they were in a forward-leaning, aggressive stance. The shift gave them better control, more comfort, and an unprecedented level of maneuverability. The thrill was real. The innovation was game-changing. The only question is, have you experienced it yet? Suddenly, riders could take on sharp corners, rough terrain, and deep powder with precision and ease like never before. The Rev chassis wasn't just a technical improvement, it was a game changer. It dominated racing circuits, leaving competitors scrambling to keep up. The handling was sharper, the ride more responsive, and Ski-Doo found itself miles ahead of the pack. Riders raved about the newfound agility.
And I have never ridden a snowmobile that was that easy to ride on a side hill, that easy to keep on its side, required that little effort to keep on its side.
And soon, other manufacturers had no choice but to follow suit. For a while, Ski-Doo was untouchable. The company was setting the standard, pushing the boundaries, and proving why it was the king of snowmobiles. But success has a way of breeding complacency, and even as innovation surged, trouble was brewing beneath the surface. Could Ski-Doo keep evolving, or was its golden era already beginning to crack? No empire stays on top forever. By the late 2000s, Ski-Doo was facing challenges it hadn't encountered before. Competition was fiercer than ever. Polaris and Arctic Cat weren't just making great snowmobiles. They were winning over riders who once swore by Ski-Doo.
And when companies like Ski-Doo listen to people like Carl, they can produce vehicles like the Summit XM.
Arctic Cat has come out with what I think, in my opinion, is their best motor to date, bar none. It's so clean. It runs really, really smooth.
Then came the reliability concerns. Riders began reporting issues that couldn't be ignored. What had once been rock-solid machines were now causing frustration and costly repairs. Early E-Tech engines from 2011 to 2017 had fuel injection problems, leading to rough idling, bogging, and in some cases, complete engine failure. And let's be honest, nothing humbles a Ski-Doo rider faster than getting towed home by a Polaris. The question now isn't whether Ski-Doo made history, it's whether it can make a comeback. Will it rise to the challenge, or will the snow settle on its legacy? For some riders, these were minor inconveniences. For others, they were the final straw. Could Ski-Doo fix its issues before more riders walked away? Another major shift happened in the 2010s. Ski-Doo became more expensive, a lot more expensive. As the company pushed high-tech advancements, prices soared. While top-end riders appreciated features like adjustable suspension, turbocharged engines, and lightweight chassis, casual riders and newcomers found the sport increasingly inaccessible. A hobby that once welcomed everyone, from weekend warriors to families looking for winter fun, was now becoming a luxury sport. Meanwhile, Polaris and Arctic Cat introduced budget-friendly models to attract new buyers. They recognized that not everyone could afford a top-tier machine and provided entry-level sleds at a much lower cost. For many riders, that was the deciding factor. This left many Ski-Doo loyalists feeling abandoned. A longtime rider explains his frustration. "I grew up on Ski-Doos, but when I saw the price tag on the new models, I knew I had to switch. I love the sport, but I can't justify spending $20,000 on a snowmobile. It's just not realistic anymore." And it wasn't just the cost of the machine. Maintenance, parts, and accessories had also skyrocketed. Replacement belts, which once cost $100 to $150, were now pushing $250 or more. Factory repairs became so expensive that many riders turned to DIY fixes, fearing dealership fees. Insurance rates for newer, high-performance models climbed, making ownership even less affordable. With costs increasing across the board, some riders felt forced to leave the sport altogether. Is Ski-Doo still building machines for the average rider, or just for the elite few who can afford them? And at this point, should a new model come with a financing plan or a second mortgage? One of the most painful blows came not from technology or pricing, but from culture. For decades, Ski-Doo was deeply involved in the snowmobiling community. It sponsored local events, backed grassroots racing circuits, and partnered with snowmobile clubs to ensure trails remained open and accessible. Riders didn't just see Ski-Doo as a brand, they saw it as a movement.
Well, obviously it changed the whole industry instantly overnight. And it shows in our racing, you know, we won the last 4 championships.
A company that understood and valued the sport as much as they did. But as the brand became more corporate, that connection weakened. Where Ski-Doo once sponsored small-town races and winter festivals, those events started disappearing. Brand reps who used to show up at club gatherings and trail openings were nowhere to be seen. Instead, the focus seemed to shift toward big-budget marketing campaigns and global expansion. Riders who had been loyal for decades started asking, does Ski-Doo still care about the people who built this sport?
Changes the rules on how you ride and how we race.
Make no mistake,
The Rev rocks.
Make no mistake,
this Rev rocks.
the Rev rocks.
Even online, Ski-Doo's engagement seemed to shift. Forums that once had active brand representatives answering questions and engaging with riders started seeing fewer official responses. Social media became more about polished ad campaigns rather than genuine interactions with the community. Meanwhile, Polaris and Arctic Cat leaned into rider engagement, hosting meetups, supporting independent racing teams, and actively listening to feedback. Many riders started to feel that other brands cared more about the snowmobiling lifestyle than the company that once defined it. What happened to the brand that once championed the snowmobile lifestyle?
C'est Ski-Doo.
And more importantly, is there still time for Ski-Doo to fix it? Ski-Doo's story is one of triumph, innovation, and dominance, but also of challenges, missteps, and a struggle to stay true to its roots. There's no denying Ski-Doo's impact. It transformed winter recreation, introduced game-changing technology, and built a passionate community of riders. Even with rising competition and shifting industry trends, Ski-Doo remains the biggest name in snowmobiling. But the question remains, has Ski-Doo betrayed its legacy? Some argue that by focusing on high-end markets and corporate expansion, the brand has strayed too far from its core riders. Others believe it's simply evolving with the times, ensuring its survival in a changing world. One thing is certain, loyal riders will always demand the best. If Ski-Doo wants to remain the king of snowmobiles, it must remember what made people fall in love with it in the first place: passion, performance, and the pure thrill of the ride. So, what's the verdict? Is Ski-Doo still the king, or has it been dethroned? Better yet, should we all just start saving for that down payment on our next sled?